Welcome back to Totally Unexpected. I'm your host, Chavie. Super excited to be here. Very excited to introduce our guest for today. We have Michal Carlebach, also known as Shop Motto. She's so good. She's a mom. She's a business owner. She's an educator. She also leads a Chabad House with her husband and family in Toluca Lake. She has passion for education and fashion equally. And it's really cool that we really do get into that in the podcast. We talk about a lot about education unexpectedly, like didn't think we were going to go in that direction, but it was so good. And of course the fashion, which I love to talk about. She's known, I think what's unique about her is her ability to source designs worldwide. So very unique, always something exciting on her site. And Michal really feels strongly about empowering women to take charge of their own creativity and express themselves through their clothing. And I can't wait for you to listen. So really, sit back, relax, enjoy, take a walk, do your laundry, have fun. This week's episode is dedicated by Reb Schneur Zalman and Mimi Felig of Miami in loving memory of their son, Baruch Shalom Dov Ber Ben Schneur Zalman. They're also dedicating it in honor of our family and the entire team at Chabad Lubavitch of Montana, with brachos, blessings for continued success in our holy work, including this totally unexpected podcast. So we had an awesome Shabbos together with the Feligs this past summer, and it's always so amazing to meet and get to know and build relationships with all the people that come through Montana. And we so appreciate their willingness to support our work. May Hashem give them the strength to keep rocking and to experience only nachas and joy. Thank you so much. And as always, if you want to sponsor an episode, whether you're a business or just somebody who wants to just sponsor an episode for whatever personal reasons, we would love that. You know where to find me. You can message me on Instagram. You can email me, which that email address is in the show notes. You just find me. Hi, you look gorgeous. Okay.
You have like a fancy background and I'm like,
this is just my office. Like I'm in my office and I've tried to like, to the best of my ability, turn it into some sort of recording studio for sound wise. And we're still like struggling a little because there's just so many windows and there's like a big open ceiling. So like in front of me, which you can't see, I have like these sound panels that are
really
sort of helping, but I have to add more behind me. But it is an office. It's not meant to be a recording studio. So we're working with what we got. How are you doing after the Yontif season?
I'm okay. I'm just like very happy to get back into work. Work for me like doesn't feel so much like work. So
okay. I can't wait to talk about
that. There's just like, every like the holidays has a unique aspect where you're off of routine, but then like very quickly I want to get back into it. So
we and my family, like we do not thrive when there's no routine. It is so hard. And especially because my kids are in public school, so they don't have off, right? So right. I keep having to pull them out and then going, it's like that back and forth. And I just find, I don't know if you read like my Substack article that I just posted yesterday. And I feel so like off kilter and ungrounded especially in my parenting, because it's just, I don't know, like it's in general a hard season for my kids right now. But then like the holidays, I just feel like the routine has been so amazing to go back to. So I feel that. So I'm actually really curious to know about like your particular shlichus? Like, what is your shlichus like? Like, what do you do?
So we live in Toluca Lake. It's in the valley. It's a very small neighborhood. It's like an upper scale place,
Mm-hmm.
more like less families and
Mm-hmm.
more people who work in the entertainment industry.
Professionals.
There's more there, yeah, young professionals. So it's a very small community. So it's more like a part-time, nothing's really part-time. Everything's like part-time,
Right.
full-time.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so yeah, it's in our house. We
Mm-hmm.
converted our back house to a shul during
Mm-hmm.
COVID.
Oh,
We did
wow.
some renovations. Yeah. And yeah, so we have shul and we have some programs. We kind of like had to figure out our role and our place over
Yeah.
the years, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, we knew going in that it was going to be more part-time. So we're both working.
I love that. It's so cool. How long have you been there?
About 14 years.
Wow. So I really like that aspect and that idea of like having to figure out like what the needs are and like what your role is in the community. I feel like many couples struggle with that and
Yeah,
are looking to other communities and other Chabad houses and environments to kind of adapt into their own environment. And I get so many like people at phone calls and asking me about, about that. And I'm just like, the biggest advice I could ever give to these young couples is like really take the time to like figure out what the community needs are and like
right.
don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Do you know what I mean?
It's so true. And it took us time. You're young, you move out and you see like all these programs that everyone's doing. You're like, oh, I need to do a Hebrew school. Like we had a Hebrew school and we gave it a go and we realized like this is not a family place. Maybe we would revisit later on, but
Mhm.
it took, you have to sometimes learn on
The
your
hard
own.
way. Gotta learn the hard way.
Exactly.
So like when you like tell your kids, like, don't make the same mistakes that I make, and then they go and make the same
Right.
mistakes because there's only really one way to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. So now, we just do hopefully what works.
Yeah. Yeah. I have the same experience. I also had a Hebrew school for a few years, and then all the kids graduated. They're all now in like graduated college already, the kids that I had in Hebrew school.
Wow.
But and then I didn't have like the next wave of kids, and so I just don't do Hebrew school anymore.
Right.
And I used to have a camp, but now I don't. It's really just depends on what's needed. But I also like, I don't know. It's funny that we're talking about this, but it just came up for me. Like I'm actually struggling with, you know, 18 years in to our shlichus in our community. And now we actually have like a new wave of younger like toddlers coming up. And
Oh, interesting.
I want to provide for that, but I'm also 18 years in and in my 40s. And I'm like, I don't really want to, you know?
Right.
So, and we don't live in a big community where I can just hire somebody to do it
Right.
for me. And
Right.
I don't excel and I don't shine. Like that's not my place where I feel my best in the kids programming. So
Right.
I did what I could and I really gave it a go and it turned out that it's not such a need in our community, but I feel like now it might be becoming a need and I find myself being like, "Oh, how do I provide this need?" But I also don't really know how to do it in a way that works for me, that I can fit it into my life, that I'm going to enjoy it, not be resentful, love it, right? I just like
Yeah.
that's kind of the space I'm in right now. Have you ever like
Yeah. It actually like every once in a while will like bring up that idea again because I do think that kids bring families and
yeah.
then, that's
Yeah.
where community, parents want to get together with kids of their same age. So every once in a while I'll have this idea and I'm like, okay, but I'm not running it. I'll
Yeah.
hire someone. And then
Yeah.
like I know myself that I'm still going to be like super involved. And then I'm like, okay, can I really handle another task?
Mhm.
So even though I would potentially hire someone to do it for me, it will still be like something that I need
It's
to.
still I always say the buck stops here, right? Like you're still in
Right,
charge.
exactly. Yeah. So, right now it's just like a thought.
Yeah. So exactly. It became an awareness for me a few months ago. And I'm just like, it's nothing's an emergency. That's the other thing that you learn, like as you get older, like nothing
Yeah.
needs to happen right now. Like I can sit with this for a little while. I don't feel the urgency.
Right.
I don't feel the fear. Like if I don't do it right now, I'm going to lose everybody, right? Like it comes a little with age and just being comfortable with where you are to be like, I can sit on this. I don't have to make a decision right now. And that way whatever decision I make, whatever I come to will
Hmm.
feel good. And I won't feel like I am resentful or pushed into it or, or doing it in a way that like isn't sustainable. But I'm so curious, like, did you grow up in California?
Yeah, I'm from Long Beach,
Okay.
so about like an hour away from here. I grew up like in a Chabad community.
Community. Yeah.
Yeah, not non-shlichus.
Yeah.
So this was all very new.
Yeah. Yeah. How was it like growing up it's so funny because, I didn't grow up in a frum community ever. Like I grew up in Texas and I live here. And so I'm like, was it like growing up in of a more insular environment community? What was that like? Did you like it?
I mean, I liked it. I had my friends. I didn't know anything else, so this was just normal for us. It's not like an LA community. Long Beach still has like a lot of shluchim that created, like a frum community. And yeah, we loved it. I mean, it was just how we grew up. But there's definitely, now that I see the other side, there's definitely a lot of perks and things that I enjoy in this lifestyle, even though it's challenging. There's just like a whole flip side to it that is very different.
Yeah. Okay, I want to hear a little bit about like your childhood and what were you like and what were some of the things that like stand out for you and that kind of put you on the path that you're on now.
So first of all, my mother was a teacher. She's taught in the high school and also she was a professor at UCI.
Oh wow.
So
What teaching what?
she teaches language and also Kabbalah. So
Oh my
her
gosh.
main thesis or whatever she qualified in was to teach language as a foreign language. So she taught
Wow.
Hebrew
That's
language.
so
Yeah.
cool.
So we were very into language. Hebrew was my first language.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah, I did not know English going to school. So my mother was like very into us speaking only Hebrew at home.
Wow.
Yeah, my father is American. He is a cardiologist. So even though my father's American, he learned Hebrew in Israel, and then that was like our
That
only
was your
spoken
language
language.
at home.
Yeah.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. That is so cool. I'm
yeah,
fascinated by language. I wish I was better at it. I always wanted, like, my dream as a kid was to speak like 7 languages, but I'm not good at it. So,
really?
like, that's the most hysterical thing. Like, I can't, I mean, I know the Hebrew and the Yiddish, whatever, but
Right. It definitely helps, when you have a good background and foundation in language, you could pick up on, I could get away with Spanish, I could get by.
yeah, that's
But
amazing.
definitely bilingual. I tried to pass it on to my kids. It was very hard. So it
Hmm.
definitely takes like a certain strength of character and determination.
Hmm.
But like I speak Hebrew to my siblings. Like it was very much
Really,
a part
so
of us.
natural. I'm the oldest in my family, so my parents spoke to me in Yiddish. And but I
Wow.
was being raised in Texas, so like till I was 3 or 4, I only spoke Yiddish. But as soon as I entered
Right.
school,
So similar.
I spoke English. And then as more kids joined the crew, like it was harder living in Texas to
Right.
sustain an only Yiddish speaking household. So it kind
Right.
of after like maybe the first three of us, like it didn't last. But my first language was Yiddish.
Wow. That's what happened with my kids. I mean, my
Yeah.
mother's a linguist, so she was, this was what she wanted and this is what we did. It also helps like when both parents, are very like my husband's more speaking English and I was speaking Hebrew to the kids, so it
Hmm.
was just
Hmm.
more of a challenge. But yeah, it definitely was very helpful in school.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was basically how we grew up and that kind of where it started, my interest in education
Hmm.
and my passion for that. So I kind of knew growing up, like I wanted to be a teacher. I always, with my younger siblings, I would always like help, if they needed help with school or whatever. Like I had an interest in it and I knew
Are
that
you
this
the
was something that
oldest?
I wanted to do. No, I'm the fourth.
Oh wow. And you were helping your how many younger siblings do you have?
Just two
Yeah.
under,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
just like, here and there, not like
Yeah.
as a,
Yeah, 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 yeah. But were you a good student? Like, did you love school?
um, yeah, I was a good student. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was.
That's
I liked
awesome.
school.
Yeah.
We were very diligent. My parents had high expectations. So this was, yeah, just regular.
Yeah.
I feel like it was different in those days. It wasn't like there wasn't as many distractions. The parents weren't as distracted. So it was just, we would come home, do our work, and it wasn't like a question or a struggle.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into that with your experience in education and seeing like where we are now today with our kids and education. But before I get there,
Yeah.
so you grow up in California, you're a good student, you have a doctor and an educator as parents, so you're very educated, you have access to a lot of skills, right?
Right.
And you get married, I'm assuming, right? Pretty young.
Yeah. I think I was like 22. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty young. Now,
And
like it was so young.
yeah. And did you know was going to open up a Chabad house and moving on shluchos like something that you always wanted, or it just kind of evolved?
Actually, it was not what I always wanted.
Okay.
I always had a value of connecting with others, and I just like that lifestyle, but I didn't grow up with it. So it wasn't
Hmm.
something, as a matter of fact, my husband, when we were dating,
Hmm.
he wanted to go into business, and that's a whole story, but we moved to South Africa
I want to
and
hear the
I was a
story.
teacher.
Tell me the story. You
So,
ended
well,
up, I
first of all,
didn't know you lived in South Africa.
yeah, just for 2 years. It was like a trial. Okay. But
Okay. But that's an
I had,
adventure.
it was an adventure, and I knew going in that like, I'm going to go try it out. I've never
Hmm.
been there. It was like a whole new country, a whole new family, but I just went with it,
Hmm.
knowing that like, if it doesn't work out, I have like a way back,
Yeah.
home.
Exit strategy.
So, right. Exactly. It's not like as simple on paper, but
I know, right?
I was already a teacher before I got married. So I was teaching high school in
Okay.
the same school that I went to. I went back to the Hebrew Academy and I was teaching there for 2 years.
Okay.
Then I got married that second year, and then we moved to South Africa and I continued teaching there. I actually was teaching, I think, sixth grade.
Oh, wow. Sixth grade's a hard grade.
Yeah, it is hard. It's a hard age, but I needed a job. I
Yeah.
wanted to get my life going and have
Yeah.
something,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
like, don't have kids or whatever. So I started there, and I also was teaching language to women. So, yeah, we lived there for almost 2 years. And it was, I think, on my first flight back home to visit,
Yeah.
it's a 24-hour flight.
Yeah.
And I'm very close to my family. I have four sisters and a brother, and we're all very close. And I just knew that it was a decision to be away from your family. Like
Hmm.
realistically, once you have kids, you're not going to be traveling back and
All
forth.
the
Like
time.
maybe once a year, maybe once we go like once every 2 to 3 years, not even.
Hmm. Is your husband from South Africa?
Yeah, they're on Shluchos there.
Your husband is from South Africa?
His family's there. Yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay. I don't think I realized that.
yeah.
Wow.
So I think, when you first get married, it's like you're deciding things from your own perspective. It's not like you don't take into account like kids and a whole big mindset. So it's just
Hmm.
like, it was very simple for me. Like I wanted to move closer to my family.
Hmm.
The other things, whatever we were going through, there was crime or whatever, like at the end of the day, I could have adjusted to it. It was
Yeah.
just more that living very far. And that was mostly
What
what
brought you
made my
back?
decision to move back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we moved back,
Yeah.
and, we had to kind of like rethink our life because my husband had the job opportunity there.
Oh, okay.
But when we moved here, he grew up on shlichus. It was such a big part of his life. He was really good at it. And instead of, starting from scratch, why not take a look at what you already know that you're good at and what you can do? And, for me, I was like, okay, we could live like 20 miles out of LA. And no, I'm kidding.
That's as far as you're going
I
to
didn't, that's as far as I'm going to go. I just knew like you have to know what you're cut out for. I wasn't
Yeah.
cut out to live somewhere where I have to homeschool my kids.
Yeah.
So it wasn't such a sacrifice for me in that sense. I'm still close to like kosher restaurants and still close enough to the community, but still have like our own area.
Right.
So
It's like a little bit of a sweet spot, right? Like you found a way to
right,
make sure that the needs that you have, which is being close to family, having some
right,
kind of structure for education and Jewish life,
right,
but also like having a chance to foster and grow your own relationships and community, it sounds like.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So we knew, in the valley, there's a lot of Chabad houses here. So we knew
Yeah.
going in that it was going to be a small community, which we didn't actually know what that meant.
Right. We don't know anything until you do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just moved here and I already had my daughter. So I had my daughter here and my oldest. And then, I started teaching in the middle school here, in the school in LA, the girls' school, mostly eighth grade. And then my husband also started working and we were building the Chabad house at the same time.
What does your
So it
husband
was
do?
a lot. Well, back then he was not doing this, but right now he's an administrator of a nursing home.
Oh, wow. I imagine that building a business and shlichus at the same time has its challenges. Like, I can't actually imagine, like, even in a small town, even if it's part time, right? Like, it takes a lot of energy. Like, for me, like, I added, let's say, this podcast or things that I'm doing like way later, like, once things were very much more established and I knew what I could fit into my life and, what I wanted to fit into my life. But I imagine trying to build two things from the ground up at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
How did you manage that? Like, was that really stressful or how did that work?
It's definitely challenging. So I think it depends what you want in life. Like
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to work and I wanted to feel productive aside for, how the Chabad house, it's like, yeah, you're building a business, which is your
Mm-hmm.
Chabad house is essentially a nonprofit business that you're building, or an organization, whatever you want to call it. But I wanted something outside of that as well. So for me, it was a lot and it was a lot to juggle, but it's something that I wanted. If I don't have to work if I don't want to,
Yeah.
I could say like, I'm only
Right.
going to focus on the Chabad house at a certain point, which we're probably, going to
We'll
discuss
get
it.
to.
But
Yeah.
while, I was teaching and I was also putting a lot of pressure on myself to add more programs in the Chabad house because we wanted to try everything out to see what
Mm-hmm.
will take and what will not.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point, it got a lot, and I had to drop certain responsibilities,
To
whatever
reevaluate.
wasn't working, to reevaluate. So at the end of the day, whatever's not actually giving success or growing, that's what kind of falls on the back
Falls
burner,
away. Yeah, I really relate to that. And I relate to this idea of I think a lot of people don't so much relate to it, but I definitely do, of having something outside of your shlichus. I view shlichus as like, for me, it is my life's work and my mission. And
Mm,
it is my full-time job and I'm very invested in it. But I always had like these little side things that
right.
was just filled a different part of myself. Do you know what I mean? Like, and we all
Yeah.
have like these different parts of ourselves and I think it's so easy to get like so focused on one part of ourselves and then like, or like, like when you're a mom, right? And you're so focused on being a mom and it's
Yeah.
all consuming. And then your kids grow up and you're like, who am I? Right? Like
Right.
that it's a very common thing that happens because we focus so much on one part of ourselves that we kind of lost track of the other parts of ourselves. So because I also was late to have children in my life, like the first 4 years of our marriage, we didn't have any kids. So I had practice, I think, in finding other things to feed different parts of myself because I didn't have the distraction of the kids, which take up so
Right.
much
Right. Right.
of your time. And then once the kids came, I was already well versed in like doing other things as well. So, I mean,
Right.
that's really interesting. So, okay, so education. So you were teaching at the same time as building this Chabad house. Your husband's building the Chabad house and also building a business, whatever business it was at the time. I want to understand your passion for education because I think it's such an amazing job. One of the most important things someone can do, but I think also it's like not glamorous, right? Like a lot of people,
Right.
their dream isn't to be a teacher or go into education because first of all, like overworked, underpaid, it's not valued. So I want to dig deep into your passion for education, how you got started and like what your experiences are or were throughout this process.
Yeah. So I love working with people and with
Mhm.
kids. I do have a very strong passion for education. I studied in Israel, for 2 years, and that kind of helped formulate like the way that I teach.
Oh, I want to hear about that.
At the end of the day, at the end of the day, I just knew that I had a gift at it. And I'll tell you what, in the frum world, I think it's such a common position that people have that you think like, oh, she became a teacher. But
Hmm.
really, it's like the people who are going into education, they should go into education for the right reasons. And for
Yes.
me, it was, I wanted to affect children. I wanted to help them. And I knew I was good at it. And it kind of felt like this was not a responsibility, but it was like not a question. Like I wanted
Hmm.
to go into education. It wasn't like, oh, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to become a teacher. And I think that is a big problem. You know,
Yes.
you should
Yes.
definitely the hardest job and the most, you know, you have such a powerful position. Do not go into teaching if this is not something that you're good at or something that you
You
want to
want to
become good at.
do.
And being that it's not even a rewarding job, not financially, and sometimes it takes so long until you see the reward, the benefit of the children. I mean, you see it every day, but let's say if you're struggling, why would you even want to do it? It's a difficult job. But it is definitely, I felt good teaching every day. It wasn't like, oh, I don't want to do this. I never felt that.
That's unbelievable. That's really unbelievable. And I want to talk a little bit more about what you said and touch on what you said, because I do think that that is a really big struggle or bump in the road that we face in the more religious communities where teachers are like a default kind of
Right,
position. And
right,
I do think it's a problem because we need teachers like you who want to be there, who love to be there, who have the skills for it, and not because they need a little bit of an extra paycheck or because there's nothing else that they can do while raising
right.
a family, or you know what I mean? And I think that we are facing that. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I see very rarely, well, I don't really, I'll take that back because I don't really know, but I find that I haven't come across many teachers in the schools that are like educated to be educators, right? And
Right.
are like, this is their passion and their path, and that's why they're teachers.
I think you're right. And it has to be treated as that. For me, and I always discuss this with my sisters who are also in the education field, it has to be treated as any other profession. There needs to be proper
Yes.
training.
So why isn't it?
I don't, I think it's a vicious cycle. It's easy job to get because the pay is not so high. And people use it sometimes as like a filler position where like, I
Yeah.
can't find another job. So I'm going to become a teacher. So let's say I wanted to go back into teaching and I would want a certain salary. It should be a competitive position. It should
Hmm.
be hard to get that position of becoming a teacher. It shouldn't be like, oh, we could find someone else if you don't want to do it.
Right.
And when you value the teachers are the most important, bottom line. They're more important than administration because when you have really good teachers, you don't need administration to step in and do such a big job. And I've been in both places. So if you hire good teachers and they are really appreciated for their position properly, you will not have that situation where anyone can get this job. First of all, even if you do go to school for education, there should be like a 1 year where you're kind of shadowing another
Hmm.
teacher, a master teacher. Like, how do you even know how to do it? You're throwing them into the classroom with kids who are not the easiest. They're pretty big size. They need experience in the field, hands on,
Like a
just
teacher's
like other
aide
professions.
type thing.
Yeah, an aide, or at least, if maybe not a full time, do that at least once a week where they're observing other master teachers and they could get first, hand skills of how do they manage the class. Discipline shouldn't be the main thing. How are they imparting the knowledge and the curriculum in a way that the students are grasping? So there is a lot that I see that could really be improved, but really at the end of the day, it's the attitude of how we value the profession of teaching.
So how do we affect that change? Because I don't think that that's what's happening right now. And maybe in certain schools.
I think in certain schools they are more competitive
Hmm.
and they are learning that this is, you have to have the knowledge
You have to be
and
qualified.
right, you have to be qualified. I don't think for me it's not even about a degree. You don't need to come with letters behind your name. Like it's not even about that. It's about having enough knowledge and knowing what you're doing before stepping into the classroom.
And having the passion for it,
The passion for sure.
because
Yeah.
the kids can sense the second a teacher isn't interested, they know that. They know when the
Right.
teacher is like not super into them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the passion is for sure like a prerequisite. It is important, but it's not even enough because you could be super passionate
Yeah.
and have so much like, this is my shlichus. I want to be a teacher. I want to help children. But if you actually don't know what you're doing or how to do it, it's not enough.
Yeah.
You know, you need actually the skills. So passion for sure is a prerequisite.
Yeah. But then needs to be followed up with actual proper skill-based practical application.
Right.
You can have a passion to be a doctor, but doesn't make you a doctor, right? Like
Exactly. Right.
you can be passionate about healing people, but then you need
Right.
the education and you need the skills to back that up. You mentioned that you kind of formulated how you wanted to teach and your method of teaching in Israel. So what is that method? Like, how do you like to teach? What's your passion around that?
How do you describe it? So, I mean, I studied in Sfat for 2 years, which, you know, they teach you how. I was in an Israeli program. They really focus on education heavily
Yes.
there. And they actually, you have to go, you know, you have to go in classrooms throughout Israel.
Observe.
And
Yep.
that was like really stressful.
And give like classes in Hebrew, like give like model
Exactly.
lessons.
Exactly. And then like be criticized by 20 of your fellow students,
Yeah.
classmates. I think for me, I want to make this relevant to students. That's what I ask myself. And not everybody could do this. I am an out of the box thinker and I have, you know, I have a creative mind. So when I think of like an idea, let's say a concept, I'm not going to just explain this. Like, how can they actually feel it and see it for themselves? So I usually, you know, like Chumash was my big topic. It's like, I need to create a problem in their mind. I need to create a question in
Mm.
their mind. It's not like, let me explain the question and answer of Rashi. Like they need to have the question. They
They need
have
to
to
come
have
up with
something
it.
bothering them.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Not
love
even
that.
come up with it, but right. So it has to be something that they could feel. There was always a relevance. Like we would always bring topics that were relevant to their life. And that's what actually kept it interesting. So, you know, the Torah is not archaic. You have
Mm-hmm.
to bring it to today, which is hard because who is interested in listening to a teacher for 45 minutes? Nobody. So it's definitely more challenging, but it's not something you have to. I speak to a lot of teachers now. I'm not teaching currently, but I'm in touch with a lot of teachers, and you have to want to change. At the end of the day, you have to want to change your methods. And until you do, it's just, you know, going to
Yeah.
be the same.
What age did you usually teach?
I was teaching mostly eighth grade, and then I was doing Hebrew language for sixth through eighth. So
Mm-hmm. So like middle
mostly eighth grade,
school.
which was a good age. Eighth grade was good. Like they were not too young, but still like not like they know everything. It was fun. It was challenging.
Do how do I ask this question? Like, are you a consult for other teachers? Like, do teachers come to you for like guidance around this now that you're not teaching currently?
Right. I mean, I offer my guide. I offer
I
my
love that.
guidance
Yes, people should take
whenever
it.
I feel, because we were having issues with our son in the boys' school, and my sister, who's currently a high school teacher, veteran high school teacher, and I was like, "Come to the meeting with me. We are going to offer our services like for free. We are
Mm-hmm.
going to offer our services." And I'm happy to help teachers. I'm happy to, you know, I think I told you that we ran a homeschool
Yes, I
type
want
of
to hear about that.
program for 3 years, which I did train. The teachers who came and were teaching in our school were brand new. So I did work very closely with them in teaching them methods. And it's a much harder job because you're not the one teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So people think like, oh, what's the big deal, you know, to be a principal? But it's hard because you have to have the right balance. You have to have the right balance of like the charisma, the care, but at the same time, you could be firm. So I was strict, but I was still like understanding these people are human beings. I'm not here to control you, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
it's just, you have to have, you know, a good balance of being the authority, but also being kind and understanding and, you
Right.
know, not out of touch.
I feel like that's the sweet spot for almost everything in life. If you're a teacher to your students, or you're a principal, or you're a boss, or you're a mother, right? Like the boundaries plus the empathy and compassion. Like, so
Right.
you're not like, this is the law and there's no like room for understanding or certain situations or exceptions to the rule, right? I feel like that's an important balance that we all need to work on and have.
It's very similar to parenting, but it's much easier. You're like they're not your own kids, so it's you're less emotionally,
Yeah,
connected. But
invested or triggered.
in a way, it's similar because like you're not their friend. You're also not your kid's friend, so you're also not your student's friend. And they knew like I was not their friend. I was more an authority figure, but I was always someone there that they should feel comfortable, to come talk to.
Okay, so I had another question, but I'm going to ask this first because I think that that is something nowadays that we struggle with is this
Hmm.
concept of this familiar, like I'm your friend, equal that adults or authority figures are having with the younger generation. I mean, do you see that? I feel like even
Yeah,
teachers are trying to be the students' friends, and mothers are trying to be their
right,
children's friends. And
right.
I think we forget that we can be kind, compassionate, loving, and you can want to hang out and spend time with your kids, but it doesn't mean that you're their friend, and nor really should you be.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, but this generation, we struggle. I find that we struggle with that boundary and that
Right.
hierarchy, right? Like, there's no hierarchy
Yeah.
anymore.
I think kids are so much more expressive and not afraid to say
Yeah.
things, which is good, but then they need you even more to be confident in your position. I mean, this was like, okay, how many years ago? 10 years ago, my students, if I would come in and obviously how I looked was important and dressed, like you have to be current and with the times, and they would be like, where's your dress from? And I like, you don't ask that to a teacher. And
Yeah.
that was even that little line, you say it in a nice way, but firm. And
Right.
they just learn, like, I am not your friend. And they need to
Wow.
know that. It's like,
Yeah.
otherwise, if you don't tell them, and then guess what? That will lead them to respect you in other ways. So it's these little, for me, it's the fine things where they learn the boundaries and the respect. How else would you teach it to them if you don't tell them?
Tell them.
And then, you show them in other ways that you're still a kind and understanding human being. So it's definitely harder, I think, for your own kids than your students.
But I mean, it's really something that I think is kind of the work of our generation, reminding kids that there is that container, that safe container that they have, and you are their safe space. But I do think some of the respect and the not reverence, but some of the like, just like I look up to you. You are older. You are more experienced. You're wise. I do feel like we're missing that, and I think because we like in America, especially, we like to like swing from these huge pendulums. Like we like to go. So we were very authoritative and strict. And then we swung to like free range parenting and like very little boundaries. And
Right.
I almost think that the work of our generation is trying to like marry the two of those things. You can have loving boundaries, but still have empathy and not be this authoritative figure that people are scared of. Do you know what I mean? Like
Right.
we can be both of those things. And it's hard, especially with your kids. I find it to be very difficult. In my own experience, I have certain behaviors that my kids exhibit that are challenging. And if someone were to observe the behaviors without knowing any background, they'd be like, oh my gosh, why do your kids think that that's okay? Where are your
Right.
boundaries? But for me, it's like, you think I don't have boundaries? You think that like my kids
Exactly.
think that that's okay? They just do it anyway, right? And obviously they have their
Mhm.
unique situation and it's a struggle and we're working on it, but it's hard. I find that hard because like I do have boundaries and I do have the things that are important and like are not okay to do. Like it's not okay to hit, right? It's not okay to do those things, but yet they do it anyway. And it's hard sometimes not to feel like that's just so disrespectful and where's the respect and where's the boundaries and how come they don't listen and all those things.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a reflection of you or who you are. It's more you're managing so many different types of natures, and
Yeah.
you yourself have your own tendencies. Like people have a tendency either to be more strict or more kind and soft, and to find that balance, like what that kid needs and fine tune. It's not so we've had because we have a Chabad house and people come and most of the people don't have kids and they'll be
Hmm.
like, why is your son walk around without shoes? Like, how
Yeah.
can that is so disrespectful. And I'm like, are you kidding me? That
Yeah.
is the one disrespect that you find.
Yeah.
Like, I get it, because if I was single and 40 and had no experience with kids, I would be like, why can't these parents get it together? But it's really like, I was like, listen, we pick our battles, and there's other things that we're working on right now. And I know that is important. So it's not like I'm ignoring it, but you can't just take care of everything. So you see things from the full perspective, and not
Right.
not necessarily like, what is that one misbehavior that they're doing.
Well, the one thing that it's definitely taught me, like my own experience in parenting and just raising children, especially like with a lot of feisty characters, I've come to really have empathy and compassion for other parents, but especially like in these scenarios where it's so easy to judge. Like I was in a situation, I will always, this is like a trauma. I'm going to have therapy now. I'm going to tell you a traumatic story that I
Let's hear. Let's hear.
had. But it just really taught, it was a pivotal moment for me because it taught me such an important lesson. It's like, you just never know what's going on. So I was on the way to Denver with ZC with her special doctors in Denver because she has a genetic disorder that is very rare, and her doctors are in Denver, and her disorder includes a very special diet and a very restricted eating patterns and habits, and everything around eating is restricted. So what you eat, how much you eat, when you eat. And she was like maybe maybe like 5 or 6 years old, and we were on the plane, and she was very early in the morning, but we had to get to Denver, and she had to take fasting labs. So she couldn't eat before the labs. And so we were landing in Denver at 7 a.m. We'd get to the hospital by 8. It's not the end of the world, but for a child who woke up early and is hungry, and it's very hard. And she was screaming on the plane, I just want to eat. Give me my food. And I couldn't
Oh my.
give her food. And I felt the people like looking at me like, what the heck is wrong with you? Like, why aren't you feeding your child? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
give her a snack, something like in what world would a child be screaming for food and a parent doesn't give them food? It was so difficult. Like I had to like be so calm and patient with her and be like, we're almost there. We're going to eat when we get there. But she also like has a cognitive part to her condition. So like didn't really understand. Right. And then part of what happens is that she gets into these meltdowns and then she doesn't like you can't really talk to her. So she was like in a state, and I'm just like, here I am not feeding my child. Looks like I'm torturing her. Right. And who knows what everyone on the plane is thinking. And I'm like, but I'm in this case scenario, like I'm doing the right thing, right? I'm doing the best that
Right.
I can. And it doesn't look that way, right? It doesn't look that way. It looks like
Right.
I'm a mean, horrible mom who's clueless, who doesn't know how to meet her child's needs, right? And that to me was like such a turning point. It was like, wow, you just never know. You just never
I can
know
imagine.
what goes on. Like you walk into a scenario or you see a scenario and you're just like, wow, what is wrong with that parent? You don't know what's happened before or after or any of the circumstances. I don't know why I told that story, but what were we talking
Well,
like, why
we were
did I
talking
tell
about
that story?
misbehaviors and
Like, oh yeah, what my children have taught me through say is like being compassionate and understanding, like there's usually a bigger picture around behaviors, just in general, like around behaviors, there's always more to the story, I think.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that so many times with, I mean, one of my kids is, not to like disclose so much information, but he's a little bit out of the box, and he
Hmm.
likes to move a lot when he's, in class, which, as you can imagine, in a big class, people could think that stems from a misbehavior. And he was never diagnosed with anything. Like, he's a very bright child. He just needs to fidget and move. And if you don't understand different personalities, you could think like, well, just sit straight. And why can't you get your stuff together? And when you really know where something's coming from, you just view it differently. So you learn a lot from the
Yeah.
different natures.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you started a homeschool, which is actually very ironic because, like, part of the reasons why you lived close to a community was
I
to
know.
not have to
Right.
homeschool your kids. And then, so
Right.
tell me about that. Like, how did that come about?
So it wasn't like to not send our kids to grade school.
Uh huh.
Basically, because we live in the valley, there's only the elementary schools in the city, which is about an hour drive.
Oh, wow.
And for me, when they're young, so you're sending them like at age 6, first grade, 6 and 7, is very hard. They leave at 7:30 and they come back at like 5:30. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
really long day. My first daughter I sent, fine. My second son, when he graduated from the preschool here, the kindergarten, there was like a good, nice group of parents, most of them shluchim, who had boys the same age. There were 8 boys.
Mm.
And one parent specifically, she was like, why don't we open our own class here? We'll do like one class, we'll hire a teacher. And it seemed like, oh, wow, nice idea. This is simple. It was actually not simple,
Mm-hmm.
but we just decided to postpone their having to do the long drive and, the long
Be in the
day
car all
until they're a
day.
little bit older and they're more able to handle it. So at the time, it was like we were creating this whole program ourselves. So
Mm-hmm.
the parents were very involved. We each had a different position that we did.
Took
I
on.
was right that we took on. It lasted for 3 years. And then we opened up a second class. The third year, we opened up, they all like their siblings needed to go also. So we were like, oh, okay, let's open a second grade. So we had a first grade and a third grade. And by that time, it was like over 20 kids combined. So it was a little
Oh,
bit more
wow.
of an official position that I took upon myself. And that was COVID. So 2020, we just
Mm.
decided, unfortunately, that we closed it. It was, looking back, it was the best thing that we ever did
Mm-hmm.
for our kids. And also, we just created this little family that even till today, we still have our like WhatsApp group open. Now it's like their bar mitzvahs and
Oh,
they're
wow.
still very close. It was, it was really good. There were so many benefits and also challenges. Everything has its challenges, but I think definitely the benefits outweighed whatever work we had to put in. But also the same thing, you have to be really dedicated and really passionate about it. My role was to do the curriculum and to train and be involved with the teachers, especially that they were newer. So I was in the classroom a lot. We were meeting like once a week to discuss like teaching methods and curriculum, and we had to adapt things along the way. We even had to, if it wasn't the right fit, one of the teachers, we had to do what we had to do.
Mm-hmm.
But that was, we kept reminding like this is the benefit of a small school,
Mm-hmm.
that you could really have more control over your kids' education.
Mm-hmm.
And now looking back, I'm like, I don't even know if I have it in me to do it again.
Right. It's so much work.
It is a lot of work. And I was still like running my business at the same time. It wasn't where I was now, but it was very important. And it was something that we started and we had to just do it right.
Yeah. And it was right for that time. And
It was.
and what made you kind of stop? Was it just unsustainable or like what happened?
I think with the third year that we were open, it was during the COVID when the schools were shutting down.
Mm-hmm.
So we transferred to Zoom. We
Mm-hmm.
transitioned to Zoom, and which was still good. The following year, it was just that question of like, we didn't even know what to do. Like, what are the rules? When
Mm-hmm.
do we keep the kids home? When do we not? I mean, probably health wise, it would have been better because it was such a small pod. That's what people were doing anyways. But it was a big liability. And there were some kids with certain,
Conditions. Yeah.
restrictions that had to be more safe. And one of our teachers was older. She was amazing, but she was a little older. So she didn't want to come back. So it was just, we wanted that big, huge responsibility to be like, we're dropping off our kids by,
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I get that. I get that. So your kids are back in,
Yeah. So they are back in the regular school. Now I'm kind of like, now that my younger one is in first grade and he's really struggling with transition. Actually,
mm,
another parent was like, would you ever think of reopening the school? And you
yeah.
really need like one person kind of
Just
not
get
in
it in your
charge, but
head.
like one or two
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
to get it, the main responsibilities going. Like the other stuff like budget and supplies, like that's more of like a finite task, but it is a big, I'm not saying that I'm not open to it, but I'm not open to it right now in my life.
Right.
I'm not open right now.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. So what do you feel being that you've been in the education world and you are a teacher and you are passionate about education? Like if there was one thing that you would love to affect change in, or you feel like, okay, two questions. What was the one thing that you'd love to affect change in?
One thing.
Now, or whatever, or a few things, and one of the biggest challenges that you're seeing right now. I would love to hear about that. from somebody who, like, I have all my theories and I have all my opinions about education, but I'm not an educator and I'm
Right,
not a teacher. This is just from a
right,
parent perspective. And I would love to hear from like an educator's perspective. Like, what do you see nowadays? Like, what's really working? What's not working? What would you
right,
love to see happening?
right. First of all, I want to say that like I'm not putting down like any school or any teacher. This is just something, as
Yeah.
a parent and a previous educator, it's so hard because there's so many components that go to it. So for me to come to say like, oh, do this, like, oh
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. This is a more of a theoretical conversation. And just to reiterate, it's not in connection to any environment or school or system or whatever.
right. I think first of all, right now, just because this is what I'm dealing with, I feel like there's a big difference between how girls are taught and how boys are taught.
Hmm.
And I know this might be controversial, but it is just walk into a girls' class in second grade or third grade and walk into the boys' class and they're being taught differently when they're at the same developmental stage. So
Hmm.
why? Why are they not taught the
Mm.
same? And if the teachers can't provide that, we need to really reassess. Do they need a female teacher? You know,
Hmm.
I think that little boys, especially, and this is what I'm dealing with. So this is what's on my mind.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm talking to you. So I want to hear what's on your mind.
Right. So I think at that age, they could really still benefit from that nurturing. You can't expect a man, to act like how
To
the
nurture.
woman, the nurturing. And sure, they could adapt certain things. I'm sure there's things that they could adapt to improve that connection. But at the end of the day, they should be taught at the same way that girls are being taught. And
Mm.
for me, it stands out that they need more hands on. You shouldn't be like, oh, it's first grade. Now they need to sit by a desk. Like, why? And I was talking to, I have like a really good, I don't know if you know her, Dr. Siggy, but she's amazing. She's a psychiatrist or psychologist. She's very big into education. So I called her, when I had this problem with my son, and I was like, he was having a hard time transitioning from kindergarten to first grade. And he's very like in the box, no problems, no attachment issues, like a very bright kid, independent, confident. And I was like, I don't know what to do. Like he's
Hmm.
crying every day. And
Mm.
the school kept saying it's an adjustment. It's an adjustment. And she said such a good line. And she's like, an adjustment to what?
Right.
And I was
Right.
like, wow, like
Yeah.
that's right. What am I expecting him to adjust to? Is this really what he needs to be adjusting to? Or is he supposed to still be learning in a more playful environment? And
Hmm.
that's the truth. What happens between July of last year and September of this year? Nothing. Yet we're expecting them suddenly to just change and adapt and adjust. And that's not natural.
Mm.
So I do think there has to be a little bit of and it's not, they're still going to be learning. They're going to
Yeah.
be learning even better. And that's what we did in our homeschool.
A
You could
gentle
still do it
approach
with it's a gentle approach. It's
to like the
dividing them into
transition.
smaller
Yeah.
groups.
Yeah.
Right. More different learning modalities. I don't think they should be sitting for longer than 20 to 30 minutes. So there's different things that you can implement without having to like revamp the system, which seems like such a big task.
Hmm. Hmm. Would you say that your education style is Montessori-esque?
Um, I'm not, I maybe like parts of it.
Yeah.
I'm not really extreme in any
Hmm.
way. I think that there are a lot of benefits to, traditional learning as well, but definitely leaning a little bit towards that. But I tend to like not
Label.
like label or define, and then it's like, oh, we're Montessori, we can't do this. But
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
also,
Yeah.
yeah, so something, you know, that's another thing that I would say is, if there is another school here that learns in a more Montessori way, and it's great. I think it should be more accepted to have different varieties, and it doesn't make your kid something wrong with him
Different.
or he's out of the
Yeah.
box.
Yeah.
Just like this is
No,
normal. The
they're
kids who
actually
could
just
sit
kids. Yeah.
exactly the
Yeah.
ones who could sit a whole day without moving, like I think that's concerning.
Hmm.
But that's really the expectation.
Right. So what you're dealing with right now, like this is the thing that like really stands out for you is these younger kids who are being forced to transition into something that's so rigid before they should
Right,
be expected to.
right. Yeah,
And
and there's no
why
need.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know why. I mean, you start to wonder like, well, why is that? Why did that happen?
Right.
What was the trajectory? Like what made that be the norm?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just been done for so many years, and most people are fine if their kids are not having a hard time. So they're not going to push for a change if their kid is doing fine. And what does doing fine mean? Like, have you sat in the
Hmm.
class and observed, is it really the best for him? And I think if your kid comes home and he's quiet and he's not complaining, like, good, let's just move on till tomorrow. But you're not really implementing a change unless something is disrupted, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's
There's a lot to say. Yeah.
yeah, it's just so fascinating. And I think part of it probably comes from the whole like Rebbe Mora teacher transition, right?
Yeah, a
Would
lot
you
of it.
say
I think they could be capable of it. I'm not saying they're not, but women just have it
more naturally?
easier,
Yeah.
more natural, right?
Yeah.
But Baruch Hashem, we're gonna figure it out.
Yeah. I'm sure you're not the only parent who's struggling with this, right? And how are you navigating it? Like what are some of the steps that you're taking?
Okay, so I am like, I don't like being a nudge. Like every time
Yeah.
I message like a teacher or a principal, I'm always like, is this really important? But
I'm
you
like that
have to
too.
be
Yeah.
in you have to really be your child's advocate. And it's a full-time job. I was in the last month or 2 months ago, I was at the Coterie Show, which was the big fashion trade show in New York. And I was literally like FaceTiming my son, talking to teachers and the principals like at the show. Like it has to be something that you keep your just constantly following up with
Hmm.
until it's settled. And I think your son best. You can't let someone tell you, or your daughter, you can't let someone tell you like this isn't what's happening or whatever. If your child is unhappy, you have to get to the bottom of it. So it's, yeah, a lot of communication, giving suggestions. What do you think can work? And also not being so rigid on what you think will
Hmm.
work.
Right.
So really taking, like, they suggested they have like a school therapist or whatever. And I was like, he doesn't need that, but I was like, if it was then he wanted to go to her. She was
Hmm.
amazing and she would
Hmm.
like play games with him. And it was helping him at the time. It wasn't transitioning into the class, but he was
Hmm.
feeling more settled going to her first. And I was like, okay, you know what? If it's helping him, then let's
Hmm.
use that as a stepping stone and then see.
Hmm.
So really it's, a combination of like knowing your child and also being open-minded.
Right. Like trying to be collaborative, and
Yeah.
hopefully you as a parent are open to that, but hopefully the school's open to that. And I think different people will have different experiences around that,
Right.
depending on the school that you're in or the parent that you are, or
Right.
those are, all the different mitigating factors. So that's more of like a parent experience, right? So as a teacher,
Yeah.
what do you see your biggest roadblock or your biggest challenge in educating this generation? Like, what do you see as the things that the kids are struggling with the most and need the most attention and need something or we need to address? Like, what is that? How does that show
So
up for
I'm
you?
not currently teaching
Yeah.
in the classroom. So
But I mean, within the last 10 years.
yeah, the biggest struggle I would say is it depends for what age range, like teenagers, you need to stay connected to them. It's very important to bring up the hard issues.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times people will be like, oh, we don't talk about that in class, but actually you should
Mm,
talk about that in class. A lot of times maybe you'll hear a student like trying to ask, those students who try to ask a question to like distract you and waste time, but like find a time where it's on your terms that you're bringing it up and really addressing it in an open way so that they could feel comfortable to talk about it with you. And I
love that.
think that it's kind of, bridges the generation gap. It makes them feel more comfortable. They should just know that there is someone that they could go to. I think that is really the most important, especially with social media. They're getting information from everywhere. And if they're not talking to you about it, they're
They're
talking,
talking to
to
someone.
someone else.
Yeah.
Right. So that is really probably one of the biggest challenges is how do you navigate being the proper role model in their life? Like it's not It's not
Yeah.
common that they're going to come to you.
Do you see like an attention span issue that is,
Yeah. I mean, I see it in myself.
yeah, that's prevalent for all of us because of the
Right.
instant gratification that
Right.
we're so used to. And like, if you're
Right.
a creator on social media platforms, as both you and I are, you have to be like, well, if it's longer than 3 seconds, nobody's going to watch it,
Oh
or
my
10
God.
seconds, or 20
Right.
seconds. And I fight
Right.
against that all the time. I'm like, whatever, listen if you want to, don't listen if you
You're
don't want
pretty good
to.
at that. Right.
But I can be because it's not my livelihood. It's not my business. So I
Right.
can be more liberal and be like, whatever. If you want to listen to me, listen to me. If you don't. But I find myself struggling around that. And also like I was having this debate with my siblings about like the 2 times speed. Like when we
Yeah.
listen to a message and we're like speeding it up, I'm like, I get why people do it and I get why it's necessary for certain things. But I also think at the same time, it's my own theory. But I think like we've trained our brain to everything has to be so fast. Like you can't spend another 3 seconds and listen to the person, to what they're saying in the inflections, in
Right.
their voice, in their, like you don't get any nuance when you're listening to something at 2 times speed, right? You're not getting
Right.
the
Yeah.
emotion behind what's being said. So I'm
No,
like,
for
we're just
sure.
keep training our brain that everything needs to be fast. And we can't like, we don't even have patience to listen to somebody talking to us. If it would be face to face, we'd have to suffer through it. But like if you're listening to a message, you have to 2 times speed it. I don't
That's so
know.
funny. It's a good point.
I feel like that's really like I never double speed my messages. Like
Never. Wow.
never,
That's pretty
never.
impressive.
I mean, like I'm interested in what you're saying for the most part, if it's, somebody that I'm interested in communicating with. And I have so much expression in my voice and I'm so passionate. I'm like, if you double
Right.
speed me, you're not going to get it.
There's like 5 people that I cannot double speed.
There's like, I always joke with my family because I'm also, I know this is also very controversial, but like, I love voice notes. I love to send them. I like to listen to them. I feel like when we text, it's so cut and dry. It's so easy to misinterpret.
Yeah.
Like it's so sterile. And I'm like, I just want
It's
to
just
tell
closer
you
to a
how I
phone call.
feel. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. But I always joke with my siblings. I'm like, listen to my voice note and don't double speed me.
That's really funny. I did not think of that. But
Yeah.
you're right. It's definitely, so it depends. Like I'll have like categories of voice notes. Like if it's like an interesting conversation back and
Yeah.
forth, but sometimes it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like a message that they're just wanting to share. And like,
Right. If you're
but you're right.
my mother was telling me like, if I'm listening to, it's funny because it's my mother who's not even in this young generation, but like, if she's like, if I'm listening to a class and I have a time crunch and I'm preparing for a class and I want to listen to like a class online, if I double speed it, then I can get double the amount of information in a shorter amount of time. So I
Right.
understand that. But for me, I'm like, are you really getting it? Like, I don't know if my brain could process things that fast. I don't
Right.
know. And I'm actually a fast processor in general. Like I move fast, but there's something about like speeding things up unnaturally that bothers me. I don't
It
know.
is funny. Yeah, it's a good point.
But I just feel like it's one of those, it's a symptom of having no patience.
It's for sure. Like I'll admit it. It's
Not patience. And we have so much going on in the day and we have to fit so much in and we've packed our schedules by minute to minute. And so you got to fit it in. So we've trained ourselves not to like slow it down and have patience. And it's not the biggest deal. The double speed isn't the biggest deal, but I just feel like it's another symptom of, we need
for
everything
sure.
fast. We need sound bites. We need everything to be like at the tip of our tongue, easily accessible. And if it takes a little bit longer, I'm not listening to that. Right? Like,
Right. That's definitely, yeah, it's definitely the challenge in the business. Like you always have to be engaging. And if you did something well, and I have to do something even better and make it more captivating and more cute and more interesting. And it's like,
that's
it's
really
endless.
hard. And actually, which is a great
Yeah.
segue into, I don't know how many people know you for your business, Shop Motto, but if people know you, it's because of that, right? Like your presence in the business fashion world and your online presence. And you have an amazing business. I'm like
Oh, thank you.
#1 customer.
You're a good fan.
Yeah, I'm a good fan.
You're a good model.
I don't know about that, but I'm definitely like, I'll tell you what speaks to me about your business and then I want to hear how you transitioned from education into fashion. And I know for a while you were doing both at the same time. I would love to hear more around that. But what I love about your business is a few things. First of all, I love that you are curating modest fashion, but also like you're not getting hundreds of each item, right? So
Hmm.
it speaks to my sense of individuality. Like I love to be different and have not the same thing as everybody. And I think that's a very unique way that you operate your business. Like you're not making your own, well, you started to do some of your own clothing as well, but for the most part, you're finding the pieces, doing the work for us, like finding the modest fashion. But then also, guess what? Not everybody's going to get it because there's a limited amount that you have available.
Right.
And as frustrating as it is when you don't get the piece you want, it's still what makes
I
it,
always think of that.
but it's still what makes it so amazing because at the end of the day, who wants the same thing as a, like you
Right.
still keep that element of like, wow, like I'm going to have this dress and it's going to be unique and I'm not going to see everybody on the
Hmm.
street wearing it because it's not available. So I really love that. I love your customer service and
Thank you.
your ability to cater uniquely to your clients and be like, and I know you were joking about it online the other day. It's like how people's bodies probably better than them, and you can be like,
I know.
yes, that will work for you. Know that, and I'm one of those people. I'm like, will this dress work for me?
Right. I have like a group
Somehow
of people. Yeah.
yeah, because it's so hard to know, and especially like you have to ship it back, and it's like I hate shipping things back. And you're very responsive, and also what I like about how you do it is you don't make the person feel like you're a bother. You've told me multiple
Good.
times, like, oh no, this is what I'm here for. Like, I want you to get the right size. I want you to buy something that is going to look good on you. And I think that really comes through.
Thank you. I'm so happy.
Yeah, those are the things that I love about your business. And of course, the amazing fashion sense you have in curating. So, how did it start? Because you were still in education when you started this. So, I want to know like grassroots, like how did it start? Like what inspired you to even do something like this?
Okay, good question. First of all, thank you. That's like really personal feedback, so I really appreciate it. Okay, so it was probably about like 10 years ago. I was still teaching. One of my students had special needs, so she had a shadow in the class. And we stayed in touch. Like once the student left my class, she later got married and opened a denim line. I don't know if you remember 70 Denim.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
how I started. So
Oh, I didn't
she,
know that.
yeah, so one year, I think we were going to South Africa, and I always wanted to like have a business. It's funny, like we always used to think of like different things that we could invent. Like I just have that like creativity in me, and I always wanted to like come up with something.
Mhm.
And at one point, I even called like a patent company. Like I wanted to patent an idea, and I was like, okay, I think this is out of my reach.
Right.
But I knew I always wanted something. Like it was just like in me.
Mhm.
And I had this like random idea to call her up and ask her if I could sell her past season items. I was going to South Africa, and I knew, these were very popular skirts. And I was like, hey, let me take like
Mhm.
a suitcase with me. So I took like, I don't know, 100 skirts. And it was like really out of my comfort zone. I was not in the business world at all, but I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I
Mhm.
had like, I don't know, I did like a pop up type of event there, and I literally sold all of them.
Wow.
Yeah. So that one, I was like, when I remember coming home and I was like, maybe I could start doing this on the side. It was at the time where like the teaching started. It wasn't like I never got sick of teaching, but it was becoming difficult with my schedule.
Mhm.
I was driving my kids to school like a half an hour that way, then driving an hour to the teaching job and
Oh, wow.
going back to pick them up. And then I
That's
was coming
crazy.
home like with my kids. It was a lot. So I wanted something, that would give me a little bit more flexibility. I was still teaching. So I didn't think that I was like going to go into this. So I was like, okay, I'll do it on the side.
Mhm.
And I started her outlet. After that, I approached her with the idea. I was like, you have leftover inventory. Why don't you let me sell, your extra stock? And she was like really nice and open minded. She was like, sure, like no problem. Somebody like who would get the inventory off of me.
Yeah.
So I started, I think, with like a small Instagram account. I didn't even have a website. Like I was selling through the DMs, and
Wow.
it was just the skirts. And I was like, at some point, I was thinking to myself, this is a pretty limited business.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
how much can I sell? My inventory would depend on her inventory. Because if she is selling well one season and doesn't have a lot of extras, like I don't have a job.
Right.
So
Right.
I was like, okay, let me start like my own modest outlet that, like, I'm sure companies have extra inventory. Everybody does. That's I do. The biggest thing is to offload that. So I approached different companies. I started like with House Lankery. And what's nice is like these people gave me a chance. Like I
Mm-hmm.
was nothing. I was nobody. Like I didn't know what I was doing, but I was working hard at it. I was like really motivated. That was before I turned it into like officially motto.
Mm-hmm.
Once I started bringing in other brands, that's when I created my own company. But it wasn't really like such a smooth, like, oh, I just became a businesswoman. Like it
Yeah.
was internally, it was, I stopped teaching then
Mm-hmm.
because I knew that I was, going to do this. And I wanted something that was more flexible with like, I
Right.
wanted to have the luxury of flexibility. My kids were little. I wanted to be making money when I didn't have to be there physically. When you're teaching and your kids are sick, it's like you have to be like, okay, I have 6 sick days, and can I stay
Mm-hmm.
home? Can I not? Should I bring them? Like
Yes.
it's a very tough
Very
pull.
stressful.
And this was something like I was ready for a change. I didn't think that this would be it, but I
Yeah.
loved fashion.
Yeah.
Fashion was always something that it was so important for me. Not in a shallow
Yeah.
way, but it was just
Yeah.
like I valued looking good and taking care of myself all the
Right.
time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's days where I don't, like there's plenty of days where I'm,
Yeah. But no, but as a
but it was
general
just
rule, like,
something,
yeah,
right.
totally. I relate to that.
Yeah. So when I kind of transitioned to motto, I remember thinking at the time, like, I wasn't so confident in that position.
That
Like, it
role.
was just in that role. Like, I
Yeah.
was a teacher for so many years. Like, I was starting to sell clothes. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of felt in a way in my mind, and it was just my own limitations, like a downgrade. Like, I was doing something
Mm.
so valuable, and now I'm selling clothes.
Oh, that's so interesting. I would never think of it that way, but wow. Yeah. So how did you reconcile that?
It took time, not a lot of time, but it was more something internal that I had to figure it out. Like, how is this the new me? Like, if you think
Mm.
about it, and especially in America, people put so much focus on what you do, right? They
Mm-hmm.
ask you like, oh, what's your name? What do you do for
Mm.
a living?
So
And it
true.
really becomes your identity. Like now it's like a whole new identity shift. What do you do? I remember in the beginning, I would still tell people that I was a teacher. It was still me. I was still a
Yeah.
teacher and I was
Yeah.
selling clothes. But I think I knew that in order for me to do well at this, I had to fully embrace it. And what got me to embrace it was realizing that it's not really who you are.
Mm-hmm.
What you do is what you do, and it's not your whole person. Like you could put your whole self into it, but it's still at the end of the day your job. And a lot of times I think we box ourselves in and think like this is what I'm doing and I'm doing this for the rest of my life,
Yeah.
and it's nice to be committed for life, but it doesn't always have to be that way. Like
Mm-hmm.
you could, for me, I found that when I was developing talents and the side of me that I didn't give myself an opportunity before, like creating this business was a whole new set of skills. And yeah, I love being creative and I love communicating with people, but it was bringing parts out of me that
Weren't
weren't
tapped into.
really tapped into. And that in itself brought value.
Yes.
So I realized that really you could do anything. I could change my job to someone else, something else tomorrow. And if I still bring in my core values and develop my talents as a person, it will bring me meaning. Aside for the actual job being meaningful, like
Yes.
that also brings me meaning. But
Yeah.
it's like I was pushing myself out of the comfort zone. That's meaningful. Like
Mm-hmm.
that brings me value. That develops me as a person versus like I just sell clothes. No, like I'm creating a business that is developing my strengths and my talents and forcing myself to go out of my comfort zone.
I love that so much. I feel like this is like, wow, like a whole on thing onto itself, but like it's kind of what we were talking about earlier about the different parts of yourself, right? Addressing and realizing that you're not just one thing, right? Like we are complex
Right.
humans that have so many different layers
Yeah.
and different parts of our lives and in different parts of our journeys and in different parts of our experience in this world, we get to tap into different parts of ourselves. And each part of those selves is a piece of what makes you,
Exactly.
right? I talk about this all the time because I think that it's something that a lot of women especially struggle with is like identifying with what they put out in the world or in what they do and the value in like really exploring who they are as a person. And I love what you said in the sense of like through your job, through doing something new, through the challenge, through pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, that's the you and that's the value.
Right.
I love that.
Exactly. It's like the more who you are.
Yeah.
I mean, later on, when my business took off, I was able to really gain like a new sense of appreciation for what I was doing. But
Right.
I
Embrace it.
had to first embrace it fully and be like, okay, this is what I do. This is I'm bringing who I am into what I do.
Right.
And
It was almost like you had to embrace yourself and
right,
first before you could embrace what you do. And
right,
then and have that become a really big piece of you and be like really proud of it and
right.
really own it. Wow, like that is so you kind of developed the outlet side of it, right? And you were getting people's extra inventory. And then how did you move on from there?
So I realized I had like a certain vision where I wanted to go. And again, like I had to kind of change that a little bit or just be more realistic. I wanted like a modest outlet of like big brands, like I had a big dream. And
Mm,
I did get to work with big designers that they were selling me their inventory. The problem was that like I had a limitation that I only would purchase modest clothing from them. And most
right.
people, this is a little bit technical in the business, but they want to offload all of their inventory. It's like, oh, you can't take pants. Like, I'm not going to sell it to you. You can't take short sleeves. I'm going to find a buyer that could take everything.
Yeah.
So I realized there was like something working against me that was just, I had to face it, that this was not going to be just an outlet. So I started branching out to like just regular designers, small designers. I like to buy like very unique pieces. We have designers from all over the world, small names and also regular. But it shifted to curating modest fashion, not necessarily, but just something of high quality at an average, afford price point.
Wow. So now, where you are now, like, did you ever imagine that this is where you'd be?
um,
Or you're not
No,
even
I think I mean, look, it's still a very small
I'm
business.
sure
I
you
think,
still have big dreams.
right, I have big dreams, but I'm always thinking like, how big do I want to be? Like, you have to, whatever you put into it, that's what's going to come out. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, okay, I could technically you can't really keep things afloat. It doesn't work like that. You have to just work hard to keep things afloat. So, now we opened up in the House of Lengthy location in New York, which was also a little small step forward.
Yeah.
I have a few other ideas, but it's definitely more than what I thought I was going to do. When you think like, oh, you're opening up a business, you can have so much free time. Like I don't have so much free time, but I have
No.
flexibility.
Right.
So I'm still working like in the nighttime, but it doesn't even feel like, for me, like I enjoy it. Like I love
Mhm.
what I do. And it's not like, oh, I have to work. It's fun. Now I'm like trying to create like a team and hire
Mhm.
people so that I don't have to do everything.
What stands out for me about you just in this conversation is that each job that you've been in, you loved. And you loved going to work. You didn't dread it. And I think that's so first of all, such a wonderful thing to hear and so admirable. And it's a good like reminder for all of us is like, love what you do. And I
Right.
think
It's true.
it's so beautiful to hear when you were in education that you like loved your job. And now that you're in fashion, you love your job. I really think that comes out. I'm sure it came out. I'm sure your students felt that. And I think your clients who you work with now, who buy from you, feel that. They feel like you love what you do. I can speak for myself. We feel like you want to be communicating with us. When we message you, it's not a burden and a bother, right? And just by hearing you say like you love your job, it's very obvious that you love your job. And I
Really.
think that's
Well,
Yeah, it's a really beautiful thing.
I'm glad that that comes out. Thank you.
Yeah, but I mean, and you
Um,
didn't even like, but you're just saying it so naturally, like, I just love my job. And it's like, well, actually, yeah, like that really comes through.
it's not always easy, but I just, it's just enjoyable.
I
Like,
think that, yeah, I think that's an important piece. Like, just because you love your job doesn't mean every piece of the job, like we were talking
right.
about in the beginning. Like, I love doing my podcast, but I hate the technical part of it. Like, of course, there's going to be parts to your job that are more tedious and not fun,
Yeah.
but that's just part of it. But like, if you love the core of it, then it's worth the tedious parts. You know what I mean? Like, it has to
Right.
be worth it.
Exactly.
But I would love to hear your you've always give us a little bit of your opinions on trends and fashion on your site or your page. But I would love to hear, how do you approach trends and what is your value system around it? And I'd love to hear, like, as a fashion business, but a modest fashion business that's catering to a more of a religious community, but the fashion world is so big and broad. How do you navigate,
Hmm.
the big fashion world, but like also curating to a very particular group of people who have very particular guidelines, you know?
Yeah. I do have like sub values that kind of are pretty broad and kind of decide like what I bring into my
Hmm.
company. And one of them is like I'm always looking for a good quality, not necessarily a brand name, like people mix that up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I always say like quality over quantity. You don't need a lot of stuff. You want a lot of stuff, but I'd rather have less stuff that's better than a lot of,
Garbage.
garbage. And I think it's so hard because if you go on Instagram, like so much is fast fashion and it's definitely something that you're fighting against because it's so appealing. Like, oh, the influencer wore something today. I'm going to swipe up, like it's cheap. I'm going to buy it. But it's like, first of all, you need to have a broader perspective of what you want in your wardrobe. You can't just keep swiping up and what you like. It's a sign of what the society is going through,
Yeah.
the instant gratification. But for me, like what I try to teach people is how to really build your wardrobe with key pieces. And that is why most of my audience is not really like teenagers or young people. It's more
Hmm.
like women who are trying to establish themselves in a career or mothers or people who are at that stage of life where they really want quality or maybe they don't realize it, but how further it goes. And what I hear people say, like, oh, I can't afford it. What I tell them, first of all, you have a limited budget. Everybody has a limited budget. So let's say you have like $200 to spend for Yom Tov or $300, whatever it is. For me, I would rather buy one good thing or two good things than like, wow, I got like six things at Zara.
Hmm.
I mean, if you even can walk out with six things from Zara,
Right.
but it's definitely a mentality that people need to learn. I think maybe some people grew up that way and a lot of people didn't, but for me, it's like I'm treating myself better when I buy better quality. And that doesn't mean I'm spending more at the end of the day. It means
Hmm.
I'm just choosing a better piece
Yeah.
for me. So that's like one big, I would say, like tenant and I'll still bring in here and there like lower price items, and I'll test it out and I'll see like it becomes pimply after two wears, and I just have such a hard time selling that. Like,
Yeah.
I am not going to sell you something that I personally wouldn't
Don't
approve of,
value.
not right. So yeah, that would be like number one. Also, like you said, I really value individuality and uniqueness. And I feel like a lot of it is from the community pressure or being like accepted, or especially in some communities, like, oh, I wear this name or this style. And that's why they want to wear the same thing because it's like a
A
status.
status.
And for me, it's kind of a little bit of a lack of your own self confidence. I've
Mm.
had customers come to me when they're shopping because sometimes they'll come by appointment and, they'll like something or they'll call their friends and ask their opinion or their mother or whatever. And then they'll be like, oh, so and so didn't like it. Can I return it like the next day? And I'll
For
be like,
real.
you were so, yeah.
Yeah. You liked it.
And like for me, like, I don't care if they return
It
it. That's
breaks
not
my
even that.
heart.
It's
Yeah.
like, it really breaks my heart that if you like something, like develop your own, that's what confidence is, like the ability to be yourself, and
Hmm.
not worry, like, are people going to look at me? Like, have your own style, have your own way of doing things. With trends, like you mentioned trends, I think like I am very picky with trends because I have my own strong sense of style. The trends have to fit into what I
Works for
like,
you.
not like, right. The trends is not my style. Like you'll see this a lot with teenagers because they didn't develop themselves yet. They go with every trend because they
Hmm.
didn't really define who they are yet.
Hmm.
And, I would not spend a lot of money on trends. I think it's something that comes and goes, unless it's a trend like, okay, quiet fashion came into, like, was a trend. Like, come on.
That's
I mean,
always,
quiet
yeah, that's
luxury.
always been a thing.
I was like, I was
It's
like,
just
are you
people
serious?
who value not necessarily needing to have a name on their clothing.
Right, right, right. Yeah. So there's a lot of, I have my own ideas, but at the end of the day, I think the key thing is to be able to really appreciate different styles. Like 90% of my website, I personally would not wear,
Hmm.
but I value it for you have to learn to appreciate different styles and beauty.
Right. And you're also catering to so many different styles, but what I think is that you appreciate the quality and the value of that piece and you can appreciate it for its beauty, even though it wouldn't necessarily be something that you would wear or feel comfortable in or feel like you were you in it. Right. Like I'm sure like me, like I'm one of those customers that's a spring and I'm all about the florals and the
Yeah.
color and all that stuff. It's like the exact opposite
Right.
of what you would put on your body, but to tell me like, wow, this is gorgeous for you. You know what I
This will
mean?
be good
Like,
for you. Right.
yeah. And it's funny because I find myself in a kind of in a unique position. I'm sure it's not super unique, but you were talking about fast fashion and I hate fast fashion. I do not have any desire. I think I was telling you, like, I don't own not one thing from Zara, H&M, whatever all those other companies are.
Wow.
Like, I don't first of all, I can't walk into a store, so anything I get is online.
I know. I'm the
And so
same.
I'm not navigating those websites. I've had negative experiences with the quality of Zara just for my kids. So I don't even get it for my kids. I'm like not interested. But the thing that's hard for me is that I'm also not a minimalist. I don't want to have a
Mm,
little bit of stuff. I like to have a lot of
I know.
stuff.
So you need a lot of money.
I know. So I like good quality things, but I'm also like,
Right.
I'm not the person that's going to have a capsule collection. It's going to have 10 pieces. So that's where I have to navigate. And I've also learned and grown a lot. I'm also not so picky. Like I have a unique style, but I'm not picky. I can go into a store and find multiple things that I like. And I have siblings that can't find anything anywhere. And I'm like, what do
Right.
you mean? This is gorgeous. That's good. That's good. That's good. And I also don't like, it doesn't need to look perfect on me for me to wear it. Like, I'm just not picky in
That's so
that way.
interesting.
But because of that, I can overshop. Right. And I'm trying to
Right.
like not do that. So that's why I got my palette done, which helps
Yeah.
me like narrow down my colors. Like, if it's a bad color for me, like now I'm not going to get it because why should I spend money on a color that doesn't do me justice? I will shop in a local boutique here or on your site and I'll be like, what is it that I really need this season? What is it that I'm looking for? And that as I go older and more mature, like I'm definitely tapping into that more than I was able to when I was younger. I think it's pretty known, like as a spring, like we get bored fast. We need change.
That's so funny.
I think it is the season that's more into trends, which I happen not to be super trendy, but I get bored very
You
fast.
like new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know, and I like to have old things. Like I keep things for a very long time and I wear them, but I just have to have enough to cycle through. Right. Like,
Right.
so like, I need a lot of variety or else I just get
Right.
very
Look,
bored.
I'm not into like a capsule wardrobe where people are like all you need is 10 pieces in your wardrobe. Like I'm
Yeah.
not into that.
Yeah.
I think you could invest in key pieces that you could wear again and
Over and
again.
over
But
again. Yeah.
I was just talking about like if you have a budget. If I mean
Yeah.
everyone does, but let's say you
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Yeah.
limited budget, people will think like, oh, I have to buy something that's like much cheaper so that I could have more.
More. Yeah.
But it's not, necessarily better and you end up losing money because those things don't
Don't
last.
last. I very much align with that. Like I started to be like, okay, this is my budget. This is what I'm
Hmm.
spending for Yantif, or this is what I have available to me right now. So I will buy less. To me, it's very important to have good quality and to
Right.
have like, yeah, there's like value to the piece that you're getting. That's not going to end up in the garbage in 2 years or 1 year.
For sure.
So yeah, I think that comes across in and how you do your business.
Well, I'm happy you picked up on that.
Yeah. Okay. So our wrap-up question.
Hmm.
If you were to give people like a shopping tip or a piece of like advice that can really be of value, because I think we do live in a world that is very consumer oriented, right? Like we always have
Hmm.
products in our face and there's always
Yeah.
something that we want and there's always like the next best thing. So, what are some ways to help navigate that world? Like I'm not the type of person that's like, no consumerism and we just like shut it all down,
No. Right.
But it's more like, how do
Right.
we make good choices? How do we navigate that world? And especially, well, and for you specifically in fashion, do you have any like little tidbits or something that can stick with us?
I think two things. First of all, let's say you are not confident in your personal style, which a
Mhm.
lot of women are not. They don't know their style, and that's why you have influencers or people in
Yeah.
fashion.
Telling you what to wear.
People cannot
Yeah.
be right. So number one is, instead of asking everybody for their opinion, which will
Mm.
make you feel even less confident in your own decision, like
Mhm.
pick like a few people that you really role model over for their fashion sense, and like use them as the people to trust in the fashion world. Because you don't have to ask. I don't even ask my husband, not because I don't care, but because I'm more confident and I know that I'm going to look good.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
don't ask all your family, your cousins, your everybody. Like pick a few people that you really value and you think they know it, and just
As inspiration.
follow against their, yeah, as inspiration, right? And
Yeah.
hopefully, that will help you over time really see what you like and what you don't like.
Mhm. I love that. That's really valuable advice. Thank you.
Sure. The other thing I think is a big one is you have to analyze your lifestyle and see what you need most of. What I find is like we spend most money on like the once a season wedding, or
Mhm.
things that we're not always wearing. And then what happens is you don't look good or feel good about yourself most of the time because you're not buying for that. So if your lifestyle is you're a mom and you're not working and you're usually dressing casual and more errands, like instead of looking not good every day because you're throwing on clothes and looking only good, when you are go on date night once every 2 weeks or whatever, like buy for the bulk of your life, like when you need to get dressed.
Wow.
And then
Yes.
you will feel better about yourself. I always say, like, get rid of the stuff that you look horrible in. Like, just get rid of it. Like, don't rely on it and be like, I'm keeping this for when I need to be comfortable. Like, no, buy something that you will look good and be comfortable, because it feels horrible when you don't
Yeah.
you don't
And
feel
it
good.
wears on you. And then then you get
It
into this
definitely
like
does.
slump and you're stuck. But that is amazing advice. Cause I think I mean, I know that happens to me, right? Like we spend money on our Shabbos clothes and
Right.
on our clothes, our dressy clothes. And like we forget that like we have to get dressed every single day. And even if it doesn't have
Right.
to be fancy. And I love what you said about know your lifestyle. I live in Montana. Okay. First of all, we have 9 months of winter. But besides for that, I'm not
Nice.
dressing up in my day to day life. Like it would be very out of place to do that. Most people here are very well dressed, but like in athleisure or in comfortable wear. No one's, unless you're working in an office, like dressed up like they do in bigger cities like New York or whatever. It's just not happening here. So I also had to learn to like, what do I wear every day, right? That makes
Right.
sense for me to wear, that I look good. And I invest a lot in my winter gear, right? Like my boots and my coats and that kind of stuff, just because that's what I'm wearing most of the time.
Right. Right. That's so good.
But that casual, like run around look, you still want to feel good.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
that's where you spend the majority of your time if you're not in an office job. So I really feel like those two things were extremely valuable, even just for me to remind myself and to hear. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
I do have one last question. I lied.
Yeah.
um, I just
We could
wanted,
talk forever.
I know, we really, really could. I neglected to ask this before, but it really was one of the things that I wanted to talk about is navigating the modest world in fashion. And how did you even navigate your own, I don't know if this is something that you feel comfortable talking about, but your own personal modest standards. And then because you have like a modest fashion business, what makes something that you would carry or not carry? Where's the lines that you have around the modest fashion business? Because it's different for everybody. And as you can see in everybody's, people who have modest fashion businesses, modest means different things to different people. So I'm wondering what it
Right.
means for you and how does that translate into how you, the boundaries that you have around your business?
Yeah. So it's definitely, I wouldn't say it's a struggle, but it's something, when you really like,
Complicated, layered.
it's,
Yeah.
it's complicated. And I think I spoke about this once on Instagram. Like you need to know like where the line is and where you are. So
Mm-hmm.
like I know what the values are. It doesn't mean that I'm there right now, but I'm not going to blur the truth because I am not there right now.
Oh, I love that. That is a very powerful thing you just said.
I think that's number one. So I would say what I choose for myself, it depends what I'm going through in life. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like a linear, like,
For sure. Yeah.
for the store, first of all, it's nice that modesty is in fashion. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't think people are like, oh, I'm so limited. Like I do not feel limited in
No.
what I can wear.
Yeah.
It actually helps me having guidelines. Like when I go to these huge trade shows with thousands of brands, like I could pick out in a second what I like because of that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I pick is things that people like, maybe not everything is 100% modest, but they could work with it. People need to know that there is a tailor
Mm-hmm.
and you're almost never going to find a perfectly modest outfit that has your perfect color shade and is your style and your size and flat as your figure. It's just so hard. So you need to be a little bit open minded. So it's not like you go on my site and you'll see like some things like they have a slit or maybe they're a little open and you could work with it according to
Mm-hmm.
your
Your
standard. You have
standards.
to,
Yeah.
be open-minded a little bit, how you can make it work for you. I saw like a customer sent me a picture. There was like a V-neck dress and like it was dressy. And like she put a layered black turtleneck underneath and it looked so cool. And I was like, I would
Mm-hmm.
never think of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, it's very personal. It's definitely still the main theme that I want to cater towards the modest community.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, for me as a person is a whole nother
It's a whole
topic.
nother, yeah.
But yeah, I think it's still, now people bring up like this modest adjacent, which is good if it works for them. Just for me, it's like you still have a standard and where you're aiming towards.
Yeah. I really, really, really like and value what you said because I think it's like such an important lesson for life. We have the values, we have where the line is, and then just because we're not there doesn't mean the line moves down or up, right?
Right.
It just means that we're working towards something or we're not there yet, but being really self-aware of like where you are in connection to the broader guidelines and boundaries, I feel like is such a beautiful way to look at it. And also for ourselves, like just because we are somewhere and then we try to, I feel like it comes from a lot of like we want to justify and we want to be like, oh, this is
Hmm.
fine. So we like pull the line down and we try to make it this is this is modest now, right? Like or this
Yeah.
is accepted or and everyone's personal journey is their personal journey. And I just love having that visual of like, oh, like I'm here and I'm working towards here and
Right.
having that clear perspective around it, I think is something that we can all benefit from
Yeah.
viewing,
Hopefully
looking.
it stays really, I know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm so
Yeah.
honored to be here.
It's such an honor to have you here.
Mhm.
And I think just you as a person and all the experiences you've had and just the different like going from education to fashion and kind of merging the two and doing both like I think it's very very cool and you're a super
Thank
cool
you.
person so thank you for being here.
So, so are you. Continue being the motto representative in Montana.
Oh, you won't have to ask me twice, like I am ready and willing to be that. Yeah, well thank you so
Okay,
much.
great. Thank you, Chavie.
Okay, so I hope that was really enjoyable. I have some favorite parts of the episode that I would just like to share some of my thoughts around. But you want to hear something crazy? So this episode is dropping. I'm doing, intro, outro, getting ready. And last night and today, I got a package from Shop Motto that I ordered a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm trying things on, and everything is so beautiful and unique. But I'm like off a size, like almost everything that I got needs a different size. Some things I need a bigger size, something I need a smaller size. And I'm messaging Michal and sending her videos and being like, does this fit? Do I need a bigger size? And what do you think? And it just really speaks to what we were speaking about in the episode of just like her love and dedication really comes through. And never once did I feel like I'm annoying her or like it's too much. And it's just so appreciated because sometimes like you just need customer service. Like you just need help. Like, is there a bigger size? If there isn't a bigger size, like, does this still work? And I know Michal talked a lot about really being confident in your style and your choices. And it's such a good thing to remember. Like, do you like it? Before you ask anybody else their opinion, maybe don't even ask anybody for their opinion. Do you like it? Like, do you feel good in it? And I think it's so easy just to like get distracted or need the approval of the cool crowd or the people that we hang around with or our friends or our family. And I really, really, really hope that this is something that you take away from this episode is really pausing and getting a little uncomfortable, like leaning out of the what do other people think and what do you think? So I really love that part of the episode and I was experiencing that as I was trying on the clothing like okay, like do I like it? Do I love it? Yes, 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 yes. And now I needed technical help with sizing and returns and whatever and Michal's always there for that and it's just so good. The other thing that we didn't really have a ton of time to talk about, we brought it up at the end of the episode. Also, it's such a tricky topic. And I think sometimes it's just, do you even bring it up? Like, how do you bring it up? And obviously, the topic is modesty, right? And it's so complicated because, I mean, on the one hand, I'm like, why is it so complicated? But it just is, right? It's so personal and it's a thing to contend with. It really, really is. And I think when we talk about it, I think there's fear around talking about it because nobody wants, or at least let me speak for myself. I don't want to come across as either, square or not understanding or having a thought like this is how I think it should be. We want to like be able to honor and respect everybody's personal path in especially in this area of modesty and it goes without say because everyone's path is their own and their relationship with God and themselves is their own. So I think talking about modesty can come across as like a judgmental conversation about how other people are doing it, so we're scared to talk about it. So what happens is the other extreme is like we don't really know how to talk about it. And I think we kind of should, like it's like any other topic. Like let's pick it apart. Let's get in there. And I loved how Michal talked about it and it was really at the end, but I do think we need to dedicate some more time. I would love to hear your thoughts on the modesty conversation. I would like to hear if you would like a podcast dedicated to that, or it's just like, no, we don't need to hear anybody else's thoughts. We make the decision for ourselves. Like, I'm really curious, like when you hear conversation around modesty, is it something that's triggering or is it something that you're interested to hear? I really would like to know. So please, 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 when you send feedback, first of all, send feedback. And when you send feedback, include your thoughts on modesty. Like, I really want to know. And I think the way that Michal talked about it was, okay, so we know that there's some guidelines. We know that there's some lines, right? Borders. And then it's really okay to know where those are and to know where you are. And instead of trying to justify like, oh, everything's modest now and modest is so many different things. It's not only about clothing. That's true, but also it's okay to be like, yeah, maybe, I'm not reaching the standard of modesty that is, maybe the halachic standards or whatever. And that's okay because I'm a person who is in constant growth in my relationship with God and my constant growth with my relationship with myself, right? And this is where I'm comfortable now. And maybe this is where I'll stay forever. And maybe there'll be adjustments. Maybe modesty will get harder for me. Maybe it'll get easier for me. But just really accepting that this is the place where you are and not moving the line to fit where you are, but just recognizing that, yeah, this is where I am. And that's my journey. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So I definitely want to be a little bolder and braver around this conversation and not worry so much about how people are going to take it. For some reason, it's just a little scary. Like this topic in particular just feels a little scary. And yeah, so maybe we'll dig deeper in further episodes. So that's some of my thoughts. I really, really enjoyed talking to Michal, and there was a unexpectedness to the episode where we talked a lot about education, and that's just such a beautiful part of Michal that a lot of people probably don't even know about. So I was really happy to be able to talk about all the different parts of her. Of course, not everything, but it was great. So for the question answer, I did put up a question answer, and we were specifically going to talk about my trip to Mexico and a little bit around the wellness self-care topic. I don't think we're going to go into it too much, but I do want to answer some questions, and I do want to share a tiny little thought, like a tiny little aha moment, kind of an epiphany that I had around the self-care topic when I was in Mexico. So first, let me answer the questions and then we'll get there. So the first question was, is this a Jewish program? So no, it's not a Jewish program. It's led by my friend, Paula, who's an amazing yoga teacher. She lives in Bozeman. We've known each other for 17 years. And this is her retreat that I go on, and I've been going 5-6 years. So it's not a Jewish retreat. The food isn't kosher. It's not, most of the people, I think, besides for me, are not Jewish. And there's something that I really love about that. I think part of it is it's a little bit nice to sometimes step outside of your comfort zone or your narrative or your environment, even though I live in Montana and I'm not living in a religious environment. But there's something really, for me, feels a little refreshing and also helps me gain perspective and feel stronger in my connection. Because when you go to a retreat that you're going to be different, right? And you have to really put effort into going and keeping Shabbos and kosher food and your modesty standards and all of that stuff, like it really grounds you and it really solidifies your value system and your relationship with Hashem and how you feel about it. And it takes effort and it's not just easy. Like you can go to a retreat that's catered to if you are religious, to your religious value system. And that's amazing. And I did one of those. So I'm a big fan of them, but it's easy in a sense, right? This just really makes you have to be really intentional. And there's something that I really love about that. So that was a very long answer to a very short question, but I thought it was a value to share, like why it works for me. The second question I got was, how do your kids react and are they resentful? So it's very interesting. I think it depends on the kid. Right now, the 3 kids that I have home doesn't faze them whatsoever. They're used to my husband and I traveling. I don't often go for a week. That is not a common thing, but we do. We travel a lot. We're in, we're out. And I don't know, like it's just so part of their lives and they're so used to it. And I don't think, at least they haven't shown any resentment. Sometimes I'm like, oh, do they even miss me? Like, I'm not even sure that they miss me. Intellectually, I know that they miss me, but it's not always obvious. But that's a really good thing. Like, it doesn't totally disrupt the system. When my husband's away, I'm home and things move along. And when I'm away, my husband's home and things kind of move along. And I think if it was something that never happened, they would be like, what's happening? But they're like, this is part of our lives. They're used to it. We travel and we travel together as a family and we travel separately. And it's just not a thing. It's not a thing. I have to say that one of my kids did struggle with it more. She's away from home now. So it's, a non-issue. But that was something that I did face, and it was difficult and triggering because when you're like going on a trip that's pretty luxurious, or I don't know, like you have the guilt just is there, something to contend with. And and they like poke that hole, like they like know exactly where to, you know, dig a little deeper. But I always was very steady and very confident in the fact that this was the right thing for me to do. And I spoke about it. I said, listen, like, I know this is uncomfortable for you now, but I'm a person also that has needs and needs to fill my cup, and I need to take care of myself. And I'm modeling for you that you matter, right? Like if I take care of myself and I show you that I matter, that means you matter. And so when you're older and you're an adult and God willing, one day you have a family, you'll have reference to know that, you know what, like I also need to take care of myself. Like it's not just about the kids. It's not just about your job or your community or you also have to take care of yourself. And so as hard as it is sometimes when the kids are acting a little resentful or they're, pushing the guilt button, just remember that you're giving them a gift by showing them that you matter as a person. Because when they see that you take yourself seriously and you matter, then they know that they can take themselves seriously and they matter. And they know that they're worthy to take care of themselves as well. So that's kind of how I navigate that. And it's hard because it does, it hits you where it hurts. But I always look at like what hurts and what hurts worse. It hurts worse not to take care of myself. It hurts worse to teach my children that we go, 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 and we don't pay attention to our bodies. That hurts worse. So I take being a little uncomfortable to knowing that at the end of the day, this is important. Okay, the last question is, did you stay at your friends for Shabbos or at the retreat? So I'm very lucky that a good friend of mine is the shlocha in Puerto Vallarta. So that's where I get my food also. So it makes it so doable. And it depends on the year regarding Shabbos. Like sometimes it works for me to stay at the retreat and it works out and it's what I need to do. And sometimes I'm like, you know what? I just really need to be in a more structured Shabbos environment. And I kind of play it by ear. So some years I go to my friend for Shabbos and some years I don't. This year I went for Shabbos and I'm so happy that I did. It was like the cherry on top. It was like filled my cup to the tippy top after a beautiful week doing yoga and all of that and spending Shabbos. Like it really was beautiful. So I'm really glad that I got to spend Shabbos there this time. And I don't know, next time we'll see. We'll see how it works out. It's a lot of logistics, like how it works and if there's a place for me to stay and if the retreat, there's people there or I'm going to be alone. Like it just is a lot of logistics that come into consideration. So those are the questions for today. And the little like tiny little thought I wanted to share about self-care is I just feel like we hear this word a lot, it's overused, and then so when we hear this word, it like automatically like we tune it out or shut down or don't want to talk about it because it's like, oh, okay, here we go again, talking about self-care. And I just was thinking about that in Mexico, and to me, I was like, you know what this is? It's it's just a nervous system break. It's resting your nervous system. And if you start to look at self-care as uh, a nervous system break, like when your nervous system can really rest and digest and get offline, then that is what it is. And you can start calling it like a nervous system break. Like we don't have to call it self care if that's annoying to you. And the other epiphany that I had, I guess I'm having I'm sharing two epiphanies, not one, is I used to be very down on myself when I would come home from a trip like this. And, you go right back into the grind and you get thrown back into life and it's the hustle bustle and it's all the things that come at you and you're like, why don't I feel zen anymore? And I should have more capacity because I was just a week away and I should be able to bring the zen into my daily life. So yeah, working towards that is great. And hopefully when you go and you take a break, your capacity does grow. But at the same time, it's really unrealistic to expect you to have yoga like zen in your day-to-day life when there's a difference between being in Mexico in a beautiful, warm environment doing yoga twice a day than like going back to your minus 10-degree weather with navigating kids, school, responsibilities, work, right? So that there's a difference in those scenarios. But what I realized on this trip was that it's not about how I am when I come home. Like, yes, it's something that I work and hopefully get better and better out. But it's more than that. It's the fact that I gave my nervous system a week break. That in it of itself has such huge value that forget about what happens after. Just lean into the fact that your nervous system got a rest. And that is huge. The fact that we can turn off our nervous system for an hour, a day, a week, whatever. Like keep remembering that you need to give your nervous system a break. And when I look at it like that, it's like, wow, it's just, wow, it's like I got a week break of high stress. Like that in and of itself is a value. Whether you come home and you feel stressed right away, okay, but guess what? It had a week of not stress. So those are my epiphanies. I'd love to hear again. I really am interested in your thoughts. I really want this to be not just me talking at you or to you, but a conversation that we can continue to have over Instagram, on our podcast, in my Substack. So have a wonderful day. Can't wait for the next episode to be together and see you soon. Okay, so this podcast does not come about magically, and I don't do it alone. I have such an amazing team behind me that makes this all happen. Obviously, I'm your host, Chavie. Our producer and creative director is Eli Ben-Chion. He's awesome. Wouldn't have this without him. Audio is edited and mixed by Reed Seeley. Music by Basia Schechter and Daniel Ori. And this is totally unexpected.